Neil, first of all, can we get your thoughts on these charges that have been issued? Firstly, the one to Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've come out and said that Scott Brown doesn't have to reproach himself for anything. Obviously, the club, myself, the players will defend Scott vigorously on any charges that he's been cited for, because we feel he's done absolutely nothing wrong, if very little.
Have you been able to establish what being charged in the interest of association football, what does that actually mean?
I have no idea. So it'll maybe all come out in the wash when he has to go to Hampden. I think it's a massive deflection. All this noise this week about Scott, I think our players handled the game brilliantly, and some of the opposition players did not. It's as simple as that. So people are trying to drag Scott into this, and again, we pride ourselves on our discipline. I think over the last 7 years, we've been the best disciplinary record in 5 of those, and maybe second best in the other 2. So the players here handle themselves with great humility and respect the opposition.
It has been suggested through the week that his actions at the end of the game, some have said, were not becoming of a Celtic captain. How does that...
Yeah, but that's just the lamest of excuses to point some sort of finger at Scott. He held his hands up aloft in celebration. He was over that side of the pitch, and then he celebrated with the Celtic fans. And then, for some reason, some Rangers players took exception to that.
Do you think charges like the one that's been issued open a can of worms for other players because they're so...
I just think it's a trumped up charge. You know, it's just something that's been made up. There is a law out there, from what I gather, that you can't retrospectively be punished for, you know, gestures, but it's not even an obscene gesture, raising his hands aloft. So I think it's just been concocted because of media pressure or pressure from elsewhere.
You've been involved in high-profile, high-octane Old Firm games before. Does this surprise you, the amount of fallout there's been from Sunday's game?
It's reminiscent of the one that myself and Ali had a bit of a word, and that's all it was, a few words exchanged, where again the opposition had 3 men sent off, yet it was called the shame game. So it's very reminiscent for me that they've had 3 players actually banned, and we've had none, yet and all Scott Brown's getting dragged into this for whatever reason, I don't know.
Yeah, your old teammate John Hartson suggested yesterday that people are being hurt by Celtic's success. He said instead of respecting that mentality, they're almost creating a witch hunt. Has he got a point there?
Yes, absolutely. What we should be talking about is our form since the turn of the year, where we were level on points and now we're 13 points clear, unbeaten. I think we've won every game bar one, and that was a draw. And you know, their mentality and their focus and the quality of play has been very, very good. Now, maybe that upsets some people, but the players play the game the right way and within the laws of the game as well, and they show great respect and humility.
Hearts and Aberdeen were charged for a kind of melee at the end of their game on Saturday. Craig Levein was saying today he feels that the compliance officer is in danger of sanitising the game. Is he right? Is that a fair point?
I can't sort of, you know, compare one to the other. There was a few sort of words exchanged and a few shirts ripped, and you got to let the compliance officer, if she deems that unacceptable, then she has to take each case on its own merits. But we are over egging it a bit. But this is a big game. This is the game. We've come out again on the positive side of it, and some people don't like that.
Neil, is the disciplinary process working at the moment in Scottish football?
I don't know, Ronnie, is the perfect answer.
Every week there's something, isn't it? Every week is disciplinary is at the top of the agenda.
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know is the answer. There was a lot of controversy about the rules changes early on in the year. We had a managers meeting around about November time where things were broken down and explained to us, but whether people are getting enough satisfaction from it, it remains to be seen.
Are you concerned going forward that we're just going to get mired in week after week of...
Well, I don't want to be sitting here talking about disciplinaries and tribunals and having a fair share of them over my time, but what I want to be talking about is the team and the players and how well they're playing, and we're 2 games away from winning a eighth title, which is a remarkable feat in itself. So you're asking the wrong guy about the disciplinary procedures, because I get confused by them myself sometimes.
The thing with these charges is, for a team like the Old Firm, you don't want for them to take the competitive edge out of these games.
And they won't. They won't. The players react. So sometimes they react over the top. They never change. It's a competitive game, and there's a lot of drama, tension, emotion. You have to, keep yourself within the laws of the game and keep 11 players on the pitch. That's always important. We did that on Sunday, so we have nothing to reproach ourselves for.
Can I just ask you mentioned about deflection tactics?
Massive.
And noise from elsewhere,
Yeah.
perhaps. Were you surprised that Rangers chose to appeal Ryan Kent's charge?
Yes. 100%.
Why so?
Well, it was so blatant. So blatant. So, how many surprises he got? 2 games, and not 3.
Do you feel there should have been a harsher punishment?
It's violent conduct. And whether it be a punch, or you just can't do that. And again, Scott Brown is said to be the antagonist in this, or the provocateur, and he wasn't at all. He wasn't at all.
You're surprised to see Stephen Gerrard say that members of the Celtic staff were perhaps playing the victim card?
The only rational thing Stephen said this week, from what I've seen, is that his team played the best team in the country on Sunday. Apart from that, I disagree with probably 90% of what he's spoken about since the game on Sunday. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
Did you ever work with him after?
No, I didn't see it. Didn't see him after the game, no.
Is that normal in those situations, or usually Old Firm manager comes in?
I thought he might have come in, but he might have had other things to do.
He was invited in, though. Yeah.
Of course. Of course.
You could win the league this weekend.
We could. Oh, we're going to talk about that? Great, Charles. Oh, thanks.
Obviously, you have to do business on Saturday. If you do, Motherwell could be Rangers. What's your plans for Sunday if you do the business on Saturday?
Well, first of all, obviously, we've got to try and beat a very good team tomorrow. Livingston have had a fantastic season. They can give you a bloody nose. They're a big, strong team. We know what's at stake. We need 2 wins maximum to win the league. We want to win the game tomorrow. If we do that, then I'll be watching the game somewhere, I'm sure.
And you want to get it done as soon as possible.
Yes.
If it was to roll into the post-split fixtures, which we should find out perhaps later on today, Callum McGregor said earlier this week he'd love to win the title at Ibrox. Would you?
Yeah, I'll love to win it anywhere. So,
would you encourage the league then to, or perhaps?
I wouldn't encourage them to do anything, Charles. Don't be putting words in my mouth now. But if it's the first game after the split and we can go there and win it, then so be it. It wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last time. But look, we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. We just got to. My focus is on tomorrow, and we win tomorrow and then take it from there.
In terms of that game tomorrow, are Livingston quite a unique challenge?
Yeah, they've been pretty consistent with the formation. I like them. I like their spirit. I like their team ethic. I like defensively they're very tough nut to crack. I think they've had a brilliant few years, when you think where they've come from. Spectacular promotion last year through the playoffs. And they've held their own brilliantly. They started off the first half of the season really strongly. Big, strong team. They've got some good players there and good energy in midfield as well. So this is going to be another, right good game, hopefully.
Kieran Tierney going to be okay?
Yes, Kieran's okay, yeah. Kieran's back. Rodgick's in contention. Christie's in contention. Bankovic is in contention. And there's no fresh injury worries from Wednesday night as well.
You spoke about some contract talks last week. Has been any progress in them?
None at the minute, no.